Okay. Welcome everyone to the September Finance and Performance meeting. Welcome to anyone watching via live stream. And I'd also like to welcome to the table this morning, not all of you may have met Doug Law. Thank you very much, Doug, for standing in as our CFO until I believe our new CFO arrives in around November. So feel very lucky to get some fresh eyes on where we're at and look forward to your thoughts. Can we I'll just ask that we all stand and I'll read the council prayer. Almighty God, as members of the Rangitikei District Council, we give thanks for all the good things of our district and the advantages we enjoy. We pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance as we conduct the affairs of this meeting. We pray for all the communities and the district we represent. Help us to be fair and honest in our discussions, and help us to work together in unity for the welfare of all your people. Amen. So I have an apology for lateness from the Mayor. He's just making a very fast trip back from Whanganui. He won't be far away. And also an apology from Leanne Hiroti. Can I move those apologies be accepted, and can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Carter. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Public forum, we welcome on Zoom to Erin and Shane. Looking forward to your presentation today. I believe you've got 10 minutes and that includes question time. So yeah, fire away.
Oh, thank you. Kia ora tātou. So my name's Erin Wirihana. I'm working alongside Shane Atama and Aku Waihape and Jimmy Samuels, who are attempting a world sharing record in December. And so we have applied for the event support scheme funding through the Rangitikei District Council. And so I've got a quick, I'm just going to quickly share my screen with you. Share. Hopefully you guys can see that on the screen there in the corner. So the quick overview of the event. So it's taking place on the 18th of December at Ferndale Station there in Hunterville, which is in the Rangitikei District. And so in terms of a quick overview of it, obviously Shane, Jimmy and Aku are attempting that, and it'll be under Rarama sharing contractors, and so it's an 8-hour land record. The current world record tally is sitting at 1976, and that was set up in Pure by 3 young lads up there, and it's taking place obviously at Ferndale Station, which is one of the partner stations for the famous business Honest Wolf, which is also based there in the Rangitikei. There's an expectation of up to 500 spectators in person to visit the record throughout the event day, and probably more as we get closer to the end of the day. The events will attract local, regional and international spectators, as the world record requires judges to come in, and it depends where they come from. And obviously, we will also have global broadcasting of the event via live streaming. So that's just a quick overview of the event, which is in the application. In terms of the funding request, what I've put forward, so we have been very lucky to receive sponsorship from some awesome local businesses there in the region, and they've come on board, and to date we've got 12,000. In terms of the overall cost, at the time when I submitted the application, there was about 20,000 worth of cost, but since we've gone on and learned more about what's required for world record attempts, actually there is more cost, so that we know right now that our higher items that we will require are sitting at about 3,500, which has gone up from the original amount that we were we had put in for. And also at the time, we were hoping to get some confirmed sponsorship around Kai. And so that we know that cost alone will be $2,000, if not more. And so the request is time was for the 8,000, which is the shortfall. The biggest cost that we have is the application fee to the Sharing Society, and that cost us to bring in what are they called, Shane? The people that come in from overseas to do it. Shane's probably best placed to talk about it. He's actually in Perth at the moment. Both him, Jimmy, and Aku are overseas training. It's the best place for them to be at the moment. So I'll just hand it over to Shane and he can tell you a little bit about the process. You're on mute, Shane.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Thanks, Erin. So the application fee is $5,000 US. So that's for a multi-stand record. So that's where the bulk of our cost comes from. And to back up what Erin was saying, they have to fly in, or they have to get in 5 judges for the event. They've also got to be, one's got to be a convener from overseas. So I'm not quite sure where that person's coming from yet. Could be Australia or the UK. And yeah, we've got to take care of all of their expenses getting into the country while they're here, and then getting them home again. So yeah, that's where the bulk of our costs come from. Yeah, pretty much that. We did a bit of a tally on the expenditure probably about a month ago, and we got pretty close to 30,000, and that was a rough estimate, I could say. So, and we're still waiting on a bit more confirmation on sponsorship coming in. So hopefully we can, bridge that gap that we need. And if we don't, then we'll go ahead and do some fundraising to try and get as close to that figure as possible.
Just in terms of the benefits, thanks for that, Shane. In terms of the benefits for the council and for the region, obviously we're going to be bringing in, there's obviously the local support and community camaraderie that comes from it, but obviously regionally we will have people coming in to support. So Shane's part of the Sharing Contractors Association, and it's anticipated that the contractors from around the region will come and support, because he's been on that association for a while now, and also has been an employer in your region for a really long time, over 20 years. The global live feed has the opportunity to promote the district or the region as a great place to live and work. Shane already has employees that come in from overseas, and has done for quite a few years now, that live and experience, and they stay for work, and sometimes they stay on as well. So it's a great way to promote it as a place to live and work. The local businesses, we are trying to use local businesses for all of the hire equipment and things like that we're looking to get for it. And what I haven't got on there is we've also got community groups. So the Hunterville School and Home, or Home and School group, are going to help us out with the food. So we'll pay for the food, but they're going to come and be paid to be able to get it all ready for all of the supporters. In terms of each of the sharers, there's about 60 people helping them in the back. It's a massive job, and it's all day, and it starts at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's a massive task. It'll be a great way, this particular attempt will be a great way to put Hunterville on the map for outside of just the Shamozzle. There's lots of youth that are involved. It'd be great for them to see that sharing is a great employment opportunity and also a great business venture. You've got lots of sharing contractors there in the Rangitake, and just seeing that that's an opportunity for them to pursue. The local sponsors obviously will be able to be globally advertised, and some of them will be able to make use of that with their products. Obviously it's one of your main primary industries, it's sheep and beef down there, so a great way to promote that across the globe. And also through some of the connections that the team has, there's also the media works, so the ability to promote not only the region, or not only the world record attempt, but also the region and what's happening there when we are promoting the actual world record attempt. So those are some of the benefits for the region. One of the other requests that probably doesn't have a cost attached to it was whether the council could help us with parakore. So helping us with providing maybe bins for recycling, for the rubbish and waste, and maybe helping us to take that away. That would be really helpful. And probably doesn't necessarily have a cost attached to it either. But it would be great to see some of the council members and our mayor come along and support the day as well. And that's it from me.
Anyone got any questions for Erin? Another 2 minutes. Yes.
Just one question, Shane. Do the 3 guys have to finish at the end of the day? Let's say one gets sick and only 2 finish, but does it have to be 3?
Doesn't have to be 3, but I guess as long as you're getting over that 1976, it means the other 2 guys have got to share a lot more. So hopefully that's not me out.
Congratulations, Shane, on this event, and many best wishes with your training. And Erin, a great presentation. Thank you. One of the things that I noticed that you don't have you only have individual bank accounts.
Yeah.
How we've got around that in the past is that you, once we nominate the amount, that you talk to our finance department and they may be able to pay an account directly. Do you think something along those lines
yes.
could work?
Yep. So paying directly to like the hire place and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. That could work and probably be easier for us too. Yeah. Obviously, just because of the nature of what it is, yeah, we can't set up as an entity or organisation. So it was just an individual bank account. And so, yeah, happy to look at any kind of way around that. Some of the invoices we've already got ready for payment. So that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Kia ora, guys. First of all, great presentation. Sorry, I was a minute late to joining. Of course, I will be there and I'm pledged to support. Would our comms department be of use to you in terms of that process as well?
I think so. That would be really great. And with the connection that we've got with MediaWorks, I could see that it's a really great way to actually advertise the actual region, the actual council itself, or the region alongside the actual world record attempt. So that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do have Shane's daughter. She's our social media gem. It's not quite my forte. But she's the person that's been our comms person at the moment, but absolutely keen to take any support we can get.
Oh, thank you very, very much for coming to talk to us today. And yeah, we'll deliberate on your application later in this meeting. Thanks a lot.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, so then we're moving along to conflict of interest declarations. Does anyone have any? And the normal procedures apply. If we're discussing matters and a conflict arises, please call it out at that time. Nothing. Order of business. There's no new items to be added and the order is unchanged on the order paper. Confirmation of minutes, item number 6. Minutes of our previous meeting have been provided. Can I call for any amendments or matters arising? On page 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'd like to confirm those minutes. Is there a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And then we move to item number 7, which is the follow-up items from previous meetings. Are there any questions to discuss now. Okay, let's move on through.
Just, sorry if I can
Yes.
just mention the alternative options for Smarty grants to the Finance and Performance Committee. That was an action on there. So we've had a look at an alternative in-house solution and talked with Karen and the ISIT team. There is a possibility, but it will take quite a bit of effort to get a system that will work for everyone on the committee. So what we're proposing, and Kim's done a bit of research, there is the opportunity to lower our cost for Smarty grants for one more year because we fall into a different funding tier level now. So what we're proposing is to stay with Smarty grants for one more year to allow us time to build a system with our IT team and see if that's a possibility. Our current system runs out in November, which is not a lot of time to put something together which might actually work for everybody on the committee. And as part of that, I'd also suggest that as a council workshop next month, we actually have a look at the makeup as well of the committee. I think we were asked to look at whether it's appropriate to stay in finance or whether there's another way of having a smaller committee. So we propose to do that in October as well and just bring some options, including the status quo, but bring some other options about how the makeup of the committee could be looked at. But strongly suggest that Smarty Grant stays for one more year, but with Kim negotiating down that cost for the next year to allow us the time to work with IT on that.
Awesome, Carol, thank you. So no questions? Then can I ask that the follow-up items be received? Can I have a mover, Councillor Sharlin, seconder, Councillor Wilson, all those in favour? Carried. Item number 8 is my chair's report on in front of you, is it?
It's on Big Tin Can.
Oh, it's big part, it's on Big Tin Can.
Hard copies available.
It's, yeah, and so I'll just read that through. The only constant at the moment seems to be uncertainty, a scourge on our confidence and productivity, and particularly distressing when my own personal mantra is, if it's outside your control, don't worry about it. The PM has made the call, get back to basics, do core business only, no nice to haves, yet uncertainty remains, and we don't actually know what that means. As muted last month, does it mean we should be pausing our town hall strengthening and Marton Chambers redevelopment, especially given government intimated they'll be checking all our budgets before allocating any further government funds? However, I'm told the cost of building supplies have dropped some 30% and builders are now looking for work, so it would seem strategic to continue. Yet it is frustrating to see even at this early stage of our spend is less than 10% of our budgeted year to date. It is a serious challenge to deliver these builds both on time and within budget. Tomorrow, RDC is hosting the Regional Growth Summit, where regional mayors and CEs meet with the region's key industries. In my mind, a vital hui in this era of collaboration. Central government will be there around us, accessing their infrastructure fund. Our council neighbours around regional deals and shared services. And then, of course, there's the public-private partnership option. A hui of very important conversations, and we rely on our mayor and CE to pull more than a rabbit out of the hat. I look forward to some positive outcomes. So I'd like to move that my report be received. Seconded, Councillor Morn, thank you. All those in favour? Carried. Now we get to them stuff. Reports for decision. Events support kit scheme. So effectively, we have 25,000 available, and as in this round, we've got 48,748 been applied for. So my comment would be that now that we're in a post-COVID era, you know, we have to think really carefully about the way we cut our budget back to 25,000. And I guess that will be a discussion in our annual plan going forward. So what we can do is just basically go through each one individually. Is that what you want to do? Does anyone want to talk to this before we start?
I'll just say if you want any background on any of the events, I'm happy to talk to them a bit more and add some more perspective if needed.
So the first one is from the Trakina Caledonian Society. An application there for 5,000. Has anyone got any comments that they'd like to make, or can we just put that so I can see? Yeah, thank you. Quite a variety of numbers there proposed. Would anyone like to speak to their recommendation? Thank you.
Could I just remove my last piece of comment there, because the festival grant of $1,000 is not contrary to the rules. I discovered that, so
Sure.
I had submitted it before I realised that. So, isn't it? You see that?
At the bottom.
The last year.
Festival grant.
Otherwise, no comment.
You escape.
No, any other comments? So we've got an average there of 2,388. We're going to go ahead with that. Councillor Moore?
What happens when we run out of money? Like, we've got 48,000, we're going to run out of money today. So how do you, all these first ones might get there? Or is there a scaling effect comes into it?
Come on, we got any thoughts on that comment?
I think from the overall, I don't think it's all spent from what the average recommendations be.
Oh, I just read that we've got
Yeah, we don't have
25,000
much, but
50,000 has been, I guess we go through and
Yeah.
find out at the end, but
Yes.
Just a question, and I should have checked before this morning. I did this work just before I went away, so time was tight. So it's 25,000 over 2 rounds.
Yes.
So that if we spend the 25,000 round 1, that's gone, which backs up your comment. And other applications that would normally come in round 2. You know, so to give us some sort of picture of what we could face in round 2. So if these are all the ones that sort of come in round 1, and there's a group of them that we would normally expect in round 2, where does that leave us?
so we generally get most of our applications in this round, first round. Second round, significantly less. But where does it leave us? Well, if we spend all the money's gone.
But
So,
can you give us an indication of what applications would normally come in round 2 that are not here now?
oh, in terms of events, yes. Off the top of my head, no. But there could be, no, because that's in here. There's usually, I'm thinking 4 or 5.
through,
Mm,
through you, Madam Chair, that's what I'm getting at.
mm,
I take on board councillors' comments.
mm.
This money is all spent now. And we may well have very high profile iconic events that have been holding off for second round.
Councillor.
Just my 2 cents worth. It's my understanding that the community expects to have 2 bites at that cherry, not just one, and that it is definitely a fund that will come up twice in a 12-month period. So to spend it all in the first round would be to basically not fulfil the promise, or certainly the understanding within the community.
When it's so oversubscribed anyway, I mean, there's going to be unsatisfaction in the community either way.
Yes, there is.
So I've just done a quick tally up. The average of all of the assessors' recommendations come to 15.5. So there is still money left over. So if it stays around where everyone has recommended, then there'll be money to carry out still.
Okay. Oh, that's heartening. Okay.
Is there any that we could take out of there now, like for the Golf Association, 13.5 grand? I mean, could we say, no, you're not going to get any, and that would save us a bit of money?
Well, obviously we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute, and that's your call. May not be someone else's. So we're going ahead with confidence. If we take the current average, we get to around 15,500. Is everyone comfortable with that? So there we go. We're running with the recommended average amount of 2,388.89 in this instance. Turakina.
Madam Chair, would it be useful if putting these figures that you elect to round them off?
Okay.
Oh, can I recommend you round them down? Round them up?
Yeah, no.
2390. So we move on to that Huntable Shimozo, an established event that we're all aware of. Has anyone got any comments around the recommendation? Okay, then we'll go with the average. And we will round it to 2,720. Now the Bulls and District Community Trust has caused some discussion because they have got multiple projects running at once and applying to multiple schemes. However, in front of us here is with regards to the Christmas parade. And has anyone got any comments they'd like to make around that? And is everyone happy with the recommendation? Okay, well, we will go with 2,500 towards the Bulls Annual Christmas Parade. Moving on to the Manawatu.
Through you, Madam Chair,
Mm,
the purchase of gifts for children, is that permitted within the fund?
I haven't heard seen any reference to purchase of gifts for the children.
I'm just looking at my notes.
Oh,
I think that was Santa's Cave, was it? Referring to Santa's
Yeah,
Cave.
but I'm just wondering whether that is actually allowed.
There's nothing to say it's not.
So we have conditions about prizes if that's what you're kind of referring to. But there's me rock gifts.
Right.
Okay, no other discussion? Manawatu Wanganui Golf Association. Is this a new initiative, I think?
This is new.
Yeah, sounds like a great, way to showcase our, our golf courses. Has anyone got any comments? Obviously, the recommendation there is significantly below what they're asking. Your worship.
Yes, my figure is the odd man out within the recommendations, considerably higher than most people's recommendations. I had this a day before I went away, and so there are some question marks that I had in there about catering and sponsorship, etc., and whether the money is going back to the clubs, why there should be an admission charge for the clubs. So I was looking for some of those answers, but also some of my recommendation is that this is potentially a new event, and we are receiving the same event sponsorship every single year, whereas we're not promoting new growth. So I'd be interested some of the thoughts and answers to some of those questions around, for instance, why are the clubs charging for this event when the sponsorship is also going back to them?
So I know there's an entry fee for people to enter the tournament.
Yeah.
And that goes to the clubs.
Yeah.
And then they're putting on the catering as part of that entry fee.
Yeah. But they just seem to be getting money both ways. They seem to be getting it as an entry fee to bid, and then part of this sponsorship effectively goes back to each individual club as well. That was the way I
I think
read
this
it.
would go more to the marketing promotion of the event. Because this is Manawatu Wanganui Golf Association applying for it, so it's not, they're not applying for it for the clubs, they're applying for it for their organisational costs towards the tournament, the running of the tournament.
Well, on that basis, I'd be happy to lower my 4,000 to 1,500.
That's what Carter.
My concern was I was looking through the figures that they've got from the associations, the Wanganui and Manawatu, that they're well funded, so there's no shortage of funds in respect of having it all work. It seems like they're asking for money from us that they can then gift to all the golf clubs, is the way that I read it.
It was my point.
But in our rules and regs, you can't on gift your funds. So that was why I've gone zero, because they're virtually donating our donation, which is a no-no. So that's why I've gone
So
zero.
in the expenditure, they've got marketing, administration and volunteer, entry packs, and they've also got catering and venue hire. But so marketing is 5,000 in itself.
But
But they're
that's
looking
coming
to
from
make a
some-
profit of about 6.5 grand,
but
which will be
out
given
there,
back to the clubs.
Which is
without
Yeah.
our donation. So what the donation is that we're giving is that they're donating to the clubs.
However, it is going to be a promotion of our region, and that I imagine is why people have contributed a little bit. So yeah, would anyone like to change their amount recommended on the grounds of this conversation? No, the mayor has already changed his. We've gone back to an average of 777, so we'll take that to let's make it 780.
So there's really no need to have rules regarding this funding, is
So
there?
we have guidelines, and then everyone is able to read those guidelines, know those guidelines, and then argue their case.
And also in the notes, there was each application had been vetted to say that they were eligible for this funding.
Cool. So on to the Taipi Area Dressage Group. They apply to this fund regularly, a very successful event, especially in the equestrian world. And so anyone like to talk to their recommendation? All within Kui there, so let's round that up to 1,570. So we've heard this morning from Shane and Erin around the this sharing record attempt. I know not this 3-stand attempt, but there's been other attempts in the Ruapehu in the last couple of years, and they're a huge community event. Very, very well supported by the farmers, and people do come from afar. Would anyone like to talk to their recommendation? Or is there any questions? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. My recommendation was seeking clarification around the private bank account. I'm very happy to support now that that has been clarified as per the discussion that you had earlier during the public forum presentation. So I'm happy that that has been clarified. So therefore, I would like to amend my application to support to the value of $1,500.
Anyone else?
Did
Councillor Charland?
I hear Shane and Erin say their costs were going to be substantially higher?
Yes, than what they put in their budget.
Yeah.
I believe that it was about 20k, and they've taken that out to about 30k. Yeah, Councillor Moore.
I just want to mention one part of my comments is nearly $5,000 for supporter clothing, and in that budget. And I have the opinion that if you want to buy supporter clothing, buy it yourself. That's why I've gone for 0.
However, I would argue that it is a strong community event. It will showcase the rangatiki, and I thought Erin's presentation of the benefits to the district were well covered. And you know, if we think about historically the people that have come to share in our district, and often quite a few have chosen to stay on or come back frequently. Your worship.
The shearing industry is the second to largest industry in our district, and my feeling is absolutely this is a one-off event. We should support it. We give very little recognition to this industry as per se.
On that grounds, I'm going to increase my recommendation to 2,000. No more comments? Okay, so we've got an average there of 1,388. So we will go to 1,400. Marton Country Music Festival, again, an established event. It's been proved very popular, and this scheme has supported in the past. Any comments anyone wants to make? Therefore, I'll go ahead and we'll take that average up to 2,000. Second application from the Bulls and District Community Trust. Nice, exciting to see them busy in many aspects. This is around the Rose Show, which has been running for 147 years. Huge acknowledgement there. And then a new event, festival, which got very favourable feedback when it was run in the past. Anyone got any questions or comments or changes they want to make?
Just the comment regarding their application with all their funding that was on there, where it was coming from and where it was going to and who was funding,
Yeah.
was incredibly confusing. Because it seemed like they were involved in about 3 or 4 events at one time.
Sure, come.
Yeah, so I did talk to Heidi about that, and she's going to leave off all the other funding applications. So for her other applications, she often has to put in where other funding sources might come from. But for this, these rounds, I've asked her to leave that off and just keep what's applicable to the event.
It's as though she's done a copy and paste. All the applications are all the same.
Well, it's all her funding, I guess. Yeah.
I personally like to see that they've won a tried other places to get their funding. So I like seeing that.
So maybe she could put that in her attachment.
Yeah,
for
yeah, for sure.
discussion. If others like to.
Yeah. Your worship.
I'm just looking at my comments. A hardy more than an annual ask is probably a play around the fact that roses are a hardy plant and they're not an annual. So I might have been
Okay.
like when I did this.
Didn't pick that up.
But the genuine question is the numbers. Like, you know, we get so many events that claim enormous numbers, and we have no way of actually knowing what those numbers are. So my comment applies to a number of these sorts of events because they can be quite inflated.
Yeah. And I just went when I went into their accounts attached to their application, I saw that there was $380 not spent from a previous grant. That's why I cut my recommendation back to the $750 amount, which would cover the hall hire and the security fencing that they need because that front green is not fenced off. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Chair, but just a comment. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Bulls District Community Trust to do exactly what they are doing, and that is to promote the district and to seek funding to do that. And we are one of the funding sources. And I believe their application was very thorough. The fact that it is a multi-application for 2 or 3 different vendors and doing everything that we have requested them to do to promote the district. So I think it certainly fits within the requirement.
Oh. Okay, any no more comments? Easy average there of $1,000, so we'll stay with that. The next application is from the St. Joe's School PTA. They're up the garden walk, up the garden path, garden walk around our district. This is the second time they've run this after it being incredibly successful last time. Yeah, any comments, questions, Councillor Moore?
My comment is that they had the profit built into their profit and loss account. They had 34,000 going to, making money. So
Profit,
I
yeah.
didn't see any reason that we need to put it much more money in, but anyway, we'll put it in for promotional activities for the event.
Sure, and that's probably reflected in most people's recommendations there, thinking along those same lines. Councillor Wilson?
Just to also make comment further to what Councillor Warner's just said, we're talking about a school PTA. Any profits they do make go back into the school to promote the school and to promote better things for the children and the people of the area. So whilst it's showing a paper profit, look at the association that is going to be distributing that back into the activities of the school.
Thank you. Councillor Wong?
Plus, it's also a huge, very popular event for the area. And from that point of view, as well as being a fundraiser for the school, so that ticks boxes on both sides of the camp.
No one wanting to change the recommendation? Okay, we'll go with the average of 1,100. So can I ask that the events support scheme consideration for applications for round 1, 24-25 be received? Councillor Wilson, second Councillor Wong. And then I'll just ask that.
That's the balance. Oh, that's what's given out today. So there'll be about 10,000 in the next round. It's 25.
So we've got a total there of 15,460, and the amounts as per Kezia's written up there. I'm happy to move that. So seconder, Councillor Wong. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So we'll move on to the Community Initiatives Fund. Would you like to speak to this?
Yes, so this was applied for in the last round and they only got part of the funding for the cage. They went back to Roadrunners who they had the quote from and they couldn't reduce the price anymore. So they went to Matt Burke here in Marton and he was able to do it for a lesser cost, but they still have a shortfall of the 1,497 to actually finish the cage. So the cage is to go outside Te Matapihi for all of their giant games that they've got in storage so that the games can actually be used by the community and youth clubs. So they asked if they should pay back and reapply for the whole lot again, or whether they should apply for the balance. And there was nothing in the criteria to say either way. So it's up to the committee to decide whether they want to fund the balance for the cage or they would ask for the payment from the last look back.
Thank you. I'll just go back a step and just in talking about the Community Initiatives Fund in general. So we have got a budget of 35,913 and this round of applications comes to 18,032.17. This fund, we have a maximum amount of 2,500 per applicant. So yeah, just a bit of background there. Thank you, Kim. Any comments around the Bulls and District Community Trust application for their cage, for their outdoor games? Councillor Carter?
Having heard the explanation behind my comment, I'd like to change that to You say that maximum's 2,500?
Is that right?
I'll go 1,500.
Thank you. When they're only applying for 1, 4 and 7, yeah. Anyone else?
Kim, is it a lockable case that they can lock everything away?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, so security.
Yeah.
And they'll open it during the day, so like this giant chessboard and, the cornhole things.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that, so that green could be used, outside.
Your worship.
Yeah, my question is really based around Kim's question. So if somebody applies and say they're applying for 5K and you give them 4K, so they say, okay, next time we'll hold that 4K and then we'll apply for another K next round.
Mm.
So we give them another $500. So they then bank that as well as the 4K and wait for the next round. And where does this end? Yeah, I would prefer to be in a position of council makes a decision on the merits of the application once. But you can't just lock that money away and then apply for more until you've received enough for you to make the decision to go ahead. It just becomes, to my mind, a nonsense in terms of reapplications.
So, I agree, when does it end, but until that's actually a reality, I don't think we need to put an answer to that, except for the other complication in this instance is they've obviously bought these games and haven't budgeted for how they're going to store them. So, I guess that's a complication as well, in my mind. So at the moment they've got these games, they can't use them because there's nowhere to store them. So the investment they've already made, and however they got the funding for that is not being able to be utilised. Am I correct in that thinking?
Yes.
Mm. However, we are going to be currently on an average of 1,000. Sorry, Councillor Moore. I'll take a question. Or comment.
My recollection of last time was that we did ask them to go back and revisit the quote from Roadrunner.
And they did.
And that's what I'm sort of giving them a little bit more this time. But only, agree with his worship, it's coming back again and again and again for the same project.
Which could be a reality.
Yeah.
We're only at 1,100 here, and they need 1,500 effectively.
I guess, Madam Chair, I'd rather that the council made a decision that if you elect not to do it, you can't store that money effectively. If you don't do it, you don't do it. And if you want to reapply, then you reapply as a principle against the whole budget.
Does that make sense in my mind? Everyone happy?
I'm happy with that, but I'm just wondering, is there an action out of those comments? I do tend to agree with His Worship the Mayor, but perhaps there could be an action back to staff to either seek some clarification or to change the application in some way without too much work, but somewhere along the line that would need to be made clear to future applicants that would be the case. But I'm just wondering, Chair, if we could seek some sort of an action to tidy this matter up.
I'm wondering if we'll just put that as another item in the guidelines. Yeah, so we'll put some clarity around that.
Yeah, but I think with
Yeah.
regard to this application, we haven't gone through that process. So we'd have to deal with it on its merits today.
Councillor Loudon.
Good morning. I'd like to suggest that we actually give them 14,970 and then this can be finished with. I'd also like to acknowledge Matt Bird, one of the tremendous community supporter. He's obviously sharpened his pencil on the quote. This group has a limited funding options to them, and so they do have to go cap in hand to these projects. And I think if we have spare funds in this category, I think we should raise it to 1497 and then we can be done with.
I see your recommendation is already there. Thank you, councillor. But I am happy to increase mine to 1497.
Perhaps, Madam Chair, if that's the feeling of you could test whether it's the feeling of the majority of the committee as to whether the negligible sum of money that's remaining, whether you want to run it fund in full, but that would require a motion probably from council.
Well, of course, you could lift your recommendation, your worship. Councillor Moore.
Well, I'm looking at my comments and I think that balance sheet showed that they had enough funds to finish the project by topping up themselves. I've read it wrong in the budget in their balance sheets.
Would
I'll
you
stick
like
with my
put
felt.
a motion on the floor, your worship?
I think it's been raised by councillor Loudon and he wished, but then I'd second it.
Councillor Carter.
Go one further. If I have to make mine 2.5, which is the max, what was that gives the total as? Beautiful. Look at that. I got more than I wanted.
Not quite. Councillor Loudon.
I would like Councillor Wilson to reconsider his offer. He's the outlier in this process.
Thank you for that, councillor. And I'd rather you put a motion because I simply have said in the past, I think when we're doing these applications, the applications that councillors have taken the time to do should be allowed to be their recommendations, and I wouldn't want to see that change. However, if you were to put a motion on the floor that has been suggested by the worship to second, I would consider that at the voting stage.
Councillor Loudon.
I'd like to put a motion on the floor that this committee recommends 149700 as whatever. Towards this.
Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'm agreeing to second it.
Thank you, your worship. A vote, please. Those in favour?
But
Oh, sorry, would anyone like?
move it, speak to it.
Would you like to speak to it?
I've got more to add to what I've said before.
Yes, councillor.
I'm going to speak against it because it's overriding the whole application process.
Councillor Moore.
I would speak against it, not to support Councillor Moore in this case.
I thought I want to get a win out of you today.
No, just, I support this earlier case. I have to go against the mayor's comments that this project to fund this project because we can't go individually funding, looking at every project and supporting them as in doing all their work. I hear Councillor Moore in that the Bulls District Community Trust have got money. If they wanted to bring it forward, I'd only a few $100 short for. That's up to their committee to do. And I support the Deputy Mayor's comments that we do our homework. This discussion is very, very good and we can change our minds. And I don't support Councillor Moore's view in that if we have a motion to override it, we can't do that, but we can. So, but I just do not support the motion as such. But thank you.
You want to start to talk to it?
Yes. I'm speaking in favour of the motion. And the reason I speak in favour of the motion is you can have 12 people on a committee that want to fund something, say it's $1,000, and 11 people say that this should be funded in full. And you have one person who says, I disagree. So the majority of the people in the room are strongly in favour of full funding. And I think having one discerning voice for some reason or another should be able to be overridden by the majority of council per se. And if people say, in describing this, if people say, no, I want the balance of stool to be by weight of decision, then that's fine. But otherwise, you can run the risk of having probably rogue element is the wrong term because it's implies things for the wrong reasons. But every so often we have seen over the years somebody put in a ridiculous figure to change the average. So if that was $1,000 and 11 of the people say we want it funded and support, and somebody puts in a figure of $10 just dramatically to try and change the average, that's a pity because it's against the principles of being a democratic decision around the ring.
Councillor Wilson.
I take on board what His Worship the Mayor is saying, however, to suggest that councillors, when they are doing their due diligence on these applications through a scheme that we pay $12,000 a year to do, is in some way being malicious in their intent, I take some offence to, because I don't believe that is the case. I believe councillors are astute enough to read the applications for the merits of what they are given, and I believe that the recommendations that councillors give should be respected. And I believe that is the end all and be all of it. I do agree that as a committee, we have the ability to change the amounts given as a right of being a committee of council. So we do have that right. And I think healthy debate around those subjects is good. We have a recommendation up there, which I suggest will test that market. However, to suggest that manipulation of the system for deliberately by councillors to lessen a individual organisation, I don't believe is an appropriate comment to make. So I'll leave that with you, Chair.
Would you like a right of reply?
Yeah, thank you. I fully respect everything that's been said around the table on this issue. And I fully respect council's right to put in whatever figure they wish to. And I have no problems with that at all. I feel as though what Councillor Morn said before regarding we sent this group away to get another quote, which they did do because they fell short last time, and it's improved the application and for a lesser amount. And I would like this issue to be completed today, but I would also suggest that we look at the issue of double dipping in the future.
Okay, we'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? Against? Would you like to do that? Carried. So we move on to the next one, which is the Marton District's Budget Service Incorporated for their administration costs. They've applied for 2,500. Anyone like to talk to the recommendation or change the recommendation? Bishop.
Yeah, just advising councillors, and you may well be aware already, and so I apologise for pointing out the obvious, but this government has changed their view on whether this is an essential service or not. So they have drastically cut money available for budgeting services nationwide, and I suspect that Marton has been caught up in this as well. And this is aligned to their thinking around the well-beings. And I think it is a pity our districts are under stress, and this is the first port of call for that stress. That's just an advice position for me.
Any other comments? No changes, so the average comes out at 1,556, so we'll increase that to 1,560. And then an application from Parkinson's New Zealand, again asking for the 2,500. Any thoughts, comments, changes? Councillor Wong.
Can I just add a comment? I see His Worship's comments about how active services. I have a number of friends who have Parkinson's, and unfortunately, it's one of the silent diseases that seem to be, for whatever reason, increasing at a horrible rate in our society. I don't get the information, but it is sort of something that's not really talked about a lot. So
Somewhere in the application, if I recall correctly, they talked about Zoom support to members of the Rangitikei because of the distance from their support people. Councillor Loudon.
I'd like to increase my amount to 2,500. The Parkinson's condition is growing epidemically, unfortunately, and it's far more prevalent than what people realise. And having dealt with these people, the support networks that they offer are incredibly important to the families understanding this condition. And so I would like to increase my.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Whilst I'm happy to leave my recommendation as it stands, just in support of Councillor Wong, it is a question that I've asked before in the past, as this group has made many applications to this fund via the Rangitikei District Council, and I'm happy to support, but it is a question that I asked, and my homework has led me to believe that they are very active in the area in a number of touch points. So happy to support.
Thank you. Councillor Morton.
Yeah, I just felt that in their application that it didn't seem local enough to our region, but I've done the homework that Councillor Wilson's done, obviously, but also that they didn't appear to have approached any other councils for funding in their, other grant applications. That didn't appear to me anyway. Wow.
All right.
Didn't
Okay.
feel local enough for me.
No. Oh, Councillor Carter.
Yeah, just for some information I've just received, $2,900,000. Thanks.
Thank you. No, the changes, so we've got an average there of 1,166. So let's go to 1,170. House of Science, a New Zealand Charitable Trust. I don't remember this application in the past. So I actually rang our local school just in Hunterville to see if they use it. And yes, they do, and they couldn't recommend it more. And they suggested I go and have a look and see how amazing it is. So yeah, any comments or thoughts, changes around for this application? No. Okay, so then we'll go to the average of 1388 and a committee decision of 1390. Tikai Whakaora, Marton Youth Trust. I can't, not sure how old or new this group is. Or two youth groups. Yeah, any comments, changes, around your recommendations or thoughts there? Yeah, I was a little bit concerned that the numbers had halved from last year. Be interested, was wondering what that was about. But I also want to acknowledge that we don't have a youth space in Marton, I don't think, anymore.
They have a youth space in the library in our community hub.
The council youth, oh, beg your pardon, stand corrected there. Thank you. And what a good use of our library. Yeah. Anyone else want to say anything on towards this? We're at an average of 1805, so let's take that back to 1800. Forest and Bird ranked society, ranked branch, doing great work in our community. They are after $1,500. We've got an average there of 1182. Any thoughts, comments, changes there? No. Councillor Wong?
Just getting back to the part of the fundings that we like to see more sources of funding. Does this feedback go back to the organisation? So yeah, it is something that I've asked a number of times. I think a number of councillors. So. Thank you.
Okay. Well, the average there, 1182, so 1180 will be the committee's decision. And Marton surrounds ICT Hub. Good Plus, they run one here in Marton and out at Ratner. Any comments? Changes? Go.
Through you, Madam Chair. The work that they do in the past has been, and I think continuing, has been highly productive in terms of the Samoan community. So a number of the Samoans were arriving in our district with very limited computer access or skills, and there was a series of workshops done through the computer hub, which gave them the financial skills to be able to operate in our district. And I think it's a large slice of our population that was disadvantaged when they came here and was incredibly beneficial.
Okay, no changes after that comment. An average of 1861, so 1860. Marton in District Historical Society. Interested who on the committee has actually been to that magnificent premises. Councillor Wilson, if I had a chopped fish, I'd be giving it to you. it is the most incredible experience to see what they have got stored in effectively a garage right near the Tutanui stream. And so really excited to read. They're trying to get it all digitalised. My exposure would be there's, a few people working really hard with some quite magnificent resources to keep this society been able to offer families incredible historical records that they can. Councillor Morton.
I'll just make a comment that this is similar to the old the cage at Kamata Pihi, because it's pretty much the same application as last year for digitalising the archives. So is there similarities in that they're having another crack at the cherry as well?
It's slightly different in that, I mean, this is such a big, versus one set project with a limit. I mean,
I'm just asking the question to see if there's, I believe there is some similarities because it is ongoing work, but I'm obviously happy to support it if it's worthwhile. And we'll make another application next year with the same.
for sure.
Same thing.
And a number of these organisations do apply each year. Similarly, the Forest and Bird each year for the trapping. Yeah. Any other comments? Okay. An average there of 1875, so we'll round that up to 1880. And I think that's the end of them. So we've got the easier get all those numbers in, but we've come to a total of 12,337. With those totals as typed in there. So we have a mover and a seconder for receipt of the report, please. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Seconded Councillor Wong. I'm happy to move that the Finance and Performance Committee approve the sponsorship of projects listed below and disperse the Community Initiatives Fund as outlined below to the successful applicants. Through the seconder, Councillor Wong. All those in favour? Carried. So we've got item 9.3, project report forms. Move that they be received. Seconded Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Any questions or comments around them? No. Similarly, interesting. Around for the events sports scheme, move that their reports be received. Seconded Councillor Carter. All those in favour? Carried. Any questions, comments around that? No. Reports for information, page 21. The financial snapshot for August 2024. Thank you, Doug. Have you got anything you'd like to add to this paper?
I think the main thing is that subject to the report coming from Arno, the biggest issue for us at the moment is the fact that personnel cost and the offset between that and with the advent of all the people coming from MDC, budgets haven't reflected that, so it's going to be a Till we sort that budget, it's gonna show variance of that in that particular area. Apart from that, I think. Michelle, that's Warren?
Thank you for the opportunity, but, Drew, one thing I, would like to point out to council, you'll recall from our end of year discussion, our position in respect to, waste management. And we've talked a lot about the fact we weren't quite covering our costs. I know 2 months don't form a trend, but you'll note that position has turned around and rubbish and recycling is now covering its costs fully. And I'm not sure whether you want to add any comments to that, Arnie?
Yeah, I could, through you, Madam Chair. It's kind of what we found when finance showed us the numbers. We went back and kind of followed the trend. We were substantially higher last year than the year before, but still under the budget. And that was because of the half-year changeover. So council made a decision to up the rates. We contacted the commercial users and they said they needed time to notify their customers. So we gave them that time, and that's why there was a lag. We expected this year to look much more in line with the budgets, and if that's the outcome so far, then that's exactly where we should be.
Yeah, thank you very much. The number of comments. First of all, the personnel comments, costs, etc. I'll wait and hold fire until later in the paper when there's a report on the transition, the end of shared services. So I'll deal with that there. I'm very aware that this is very early in the financial year, so trying to look and understand, overs and unders in terms of the financial position at this stage of the year is almost a waste of time, in my opinion. But I was surprised on page 31, motor vehicle purchases of 9,859. And it is intriguing to me that we've been able to buy a new vehicle for that sum. And I just wondered whether that was something like an insurance or damage repair or something of that nature. But other than that, with regards to where we're at financially, I think is solid and sound. But I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the finance team. I know that the other weekend and on many extra hours, the finance team have been working extra long hours and weekend hours in terms of audit requirements and everything. And there's nowhere else I can point it out other than just to say thank you now. But the intrigue as to what vehicle was purchased for 9,000.
I'll follow that up, but that may well be a trailer or a canopy or something like that's been added to a vehicle.
I'm getting nods from the wise people.
Just my question, page 24, when you talk about the budget for carry-in project activity, what is that referring to, sorry?
Okay, so I understand that council has an annual event where we go and look back over projects that were planned as completing in the prior financial year.
Yeah.
And if those projects don't complete their milestones and need to roll into the new year, there'll be unspent funding that'll come forward, and potentially there'll be better off funding also associated with that needs to come forward into the new year as well from a budget standpoint. So we just flex the budgets and take account of those timing variations. And I believe that's a paper coming to council at the end of October.
Okay. Other questions? So move and second and we'll receive that report. Thank you, Councillor Sharland. Seconded, Councillor Wong. All those in favour? carried. Thank you. That's welcome to stay there. Page 32, item 10.2, the QV report. Have you got any comments?
I think that this is a normal sort of monthly report, I understand, so it's information that's it can be quite informative. Seen these, for several years and can actually identify some trends, especially in the valuation space and also the number of building permits and things like that get processed. Which I noticed that, the real estate market's a bit fickle at the moment. I think it's dropped even further than what it was, since we got the revaluations. I did discuss with Simon, our valuer, about the Taihape slip, and he assures me that was taken into account when they did the revaluation. So, however, the market, that it was always strange to me when I was here back in the early 2000s that there was a major flood in Scott's Ferry. And I thought to myself, why would anyone want to buy there after having that flood through there? Within 5 years, the values had gone straight back up to where they were before the flood. So I suspect there's a bit of that going on with the Taihape slip as well. People sort of got short memories, really. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry. You wish it.
Yeah, just one from me in the section. If you look at the building consents, page 34, 22 issued post-July. So if those are new homes, then they won't attract a rating position until next year. So whether that is a deliberate decision to hold off in June, May, June, until July, because there is no way in which we can effectively rate them until the following year. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So we basically got one opportunity a year to rate on the values, and that's the 30th of June every year. That's of the previous financial year. That's what we rate on, and nothing that happens during the year can alter that. So we've only got the one opportunity to rate. So I have come across the odd occasion of what you were suggesting, but I wouldn't have thought it was a practice that there's not many people realise that that's an option. So I doubt if it's a widespread practice, Your Worship. I think it'd be more just someone in the know might most people don't know.
Yeah, but the reason I raise it is if you take that 22 and multiply that out by the same period over the entire year, you were getting way beyond new housing expectation over the last 18 months, 2 years.
So for start, it may not be all new houses, but I read that as saying that basically the pile at QV has got a higher, and could I say that every other council has said, look, 1st of July is really important for us, and we're the loudest squeaky wheel, so they've coped with everyone else's pile, and ours didn't get done. I'm not sure if being the loudest squeaky wheel would help, so that we know that we're down to zero at the this July time.
For you, Chair, QV have got a legal obligation to make sure that all CC3s are valued at least to the end of May. It's written into legislation that anything that's been finished by the end of May has got to be valued. So there is a possibility that some in June haven't been valued, but I would suggest that it's, that there is issues with the workload of QV. I realise that, but they and we tend to chase them a bit too in that period because we know the situation, and especially with the big project, like a good building that we know, like a big commercial building or something like that, that we know that should get into evaluation, so we tend to keep a pretty close eye on that sort of thing.
Did you have a comment, councillor Wilson? Sorry.
Only what yours was, that one's got to assume that building consents for multiple things. It could be a garage or it could be an extension. It doesn't necessarily equal a new house. So it simply says building consents.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I can move that report be received. Seconder, please. Councillor Carter, all those in favour? Carried. Thank you, Doug. We're moving to 10.3, the rates from remission. Any comment?
Well, you want to put some, right? Yeah, just to say that in the commission for penalties, that's where the big dollars are. I mean, it's quite it's quite normal.
So I did a quick analysis of what those penalties, remission of penalties, some of the reasons behind them. Genuine error is the first one. Delays in mail, in the postage system, overseas payments, delays in the payment systems coming from overseas, and things like direct debits that they had in place that ratepayers had that were cancelled in error. So administrative type things. So it's generally the reason for remission of penalties. And Cheryl deals with those, and rates officer deals with those on a daily basis.
There'll be a delegated authority for most, not every read it for here, but every council's got a policy on a delegated authority to deal with it at certain levels of expenditure. So I haven't actually moved around particular one. I'm not sure it's there.
Councillor Moore.
Just reading about a rates remission up in Happy or something for a gym up there. Is that included in this figures? Obviously, it was delegated authority, but I'm guessing it's somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything we should?
Yeah, thank you very much. With regard to rates remission, we'll make the comment without extrapolating a lot of further information. What has come to the attention of the chief executive is that there are a lot of things that should have been dealt with in the past. And some of these rate remissions are really a tidy up of things that should have been either authorised or dealt with under previous administration, shall I say. And I'd just like to commend the chief executive for the work in taking on this, tidying up of this stuff. I think he has been exemplary in his attitude and informing both councillors and myself around the reason why. So I'm more than happy with the rate remissions.
So can I infer from those comments that those numbers of remission penalties are higher than normal?
I think some of them are archival in nature.
Councillor Marton.
So with the penalties, I'm assuming that the actual rates got paid and just the penalties got remission. Yes. Which the penalties are they considered as part of council's income? Because if the rates have been paid, status quo, we are worse off or better off.
Yeah. Sorry, Andy, go on. Yeah, they've become a council income, and I don't know whether they've been budgeted for or not. But usually someone, budgets for the average amount of penalties, and the remissions also. So there is so that would be budgeted for. Yeah.
And I absolutely agree with Doug. However, some of those penalties actually are a result of incurred costs in terms of debt collection agencies and things like that as well. So there is a cost stream associated with some of this stuff, and not only including staff work, staff time.
Some of these penalties tend to be for people on direct debit. The direct debit's worked out for the whole year, so they're paying, and earlier in the year, sometimes they haven't paid quite enough in the direct debit at the time of the penalties applied. Quite often it gets applied and then remitted. Right, so there's a wee bit of that going on as well, you know, it's just a timing issue as opposed to.
Can I have a mover and seconder for this report, please? Your worship. Seconded councillor Allen. All those in favour? Carried. Item 10.4 is a summary of bad debts. Anything you want to add to the report?
Yeah, it's good information.
Any questions or comments? Okay, so I'm happy to move that the report be received and seconded, please. Councillor Charland, seconded. All those in favour? Carried. Item, page 40, item 10.5 is the budget implications of ending the shared services report. Welcome Arno to the table. But anything you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the only thing I really want to highlight is what Doug touched on earlier. So the first step is to see what the global budget difference is, and the second step for us in finance would be to find those little portions in, it's about 60 different GL codes they used, and then to transfer those into the salaries portion of our budget, so the numbers reflect what.
Capitalisation of projects as well. You capitalise some of our.
So there's quite a bit of detailed work behind the scenes, but I think what councillors are interested in is it going to cost us more or is it going to cost us less? And these numbers will give you that message.
I guess it's appropriate to ask here, but I was just interested in how many vacancies you've still got in terms of the positions you're trying to fill.
I think I still have about 5 vacancies top of my mind. And what's interesting is we've been advertising them since July. We thought, because of what's going on in the country, we would have a huge influx of applications, but it hasn't been the case. It's been very difficult to fill these positions. So we're out in the market again at the moment.
Thank you. Your worship.
Yeah, I just wonder a little bit whether we're overstating the savings. And the reason I say that, first of all, it's not just about the wages. And some things council has always provided for out of our existing budgets associated with staff. So for instance, the provision of a vehicle has always sat, as I understand, with us. And provision of computer facilities, all of those sorts of things are costs that we've already carried as a business. But one of the ones, for instance, that I would suspect that would take that figure down a little bit is, for instance, insurance, because the liability insurance over those staff would have previously sat with their employer, which is Manawatu. So I suspect there's a little bit of those extra sort of costs and that we are now going to have to provide for, and potentially also, if we're designing new facilities and staff room, there's possibly some extra costs there as well. But I think, generally speaking, it's a great result. But I just wonder if those wages also include the insurance, and whether there's a consideration of things like KiwiSaver and those sorts of incremental things to associate with salary.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, would that be like the public liability insurance or?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, our insurance is probably so big that identifying down to that level is probably non-existent, to be honest. But
Councillor Loudon.
Those 5 positions that you still need to fill, would that take up a good portion of that 394? Okay, that's sort of surplus. Is that factored into that?
Madam Chair, I've included those costs here as if they are employed, so that's already included in the number.
Thank you.
Any other queries? Oh,
just a supplementary question to that for the finance team. In terms of a long-term plan, we budget on what percentage of full occupancy of staff? Can you remember?
I think we're about 95%.
So even though we have some positions unfilled against our long-term plan budget, we have a budget for a percentage of that already to occur.
If I can add some comment there, Madam Chair, it's correct. It's either 95 or 98%, but our position is conservative. Normally the number is actually quite lower than that. But we thought we'd rather be on the conservative side of the number and say we have more positions for the actual, and then the end of the year reflects a bit. Yeah.
No other questions? Can I have a mover and seconder for that report, please? Councillor Sharland, seconded Councillor Wong. All those in favour? Carried. Item 10.6.
So I'm going to cover that one this month. So with the change in reporting lines, this report will now come from Joe and myself. But also there's a large component in here which talks about comms. And for those of you who have not met, Sophia Sykes is our new comms manager. Started with us about 5 weeks ago. And Sophia is keen to actually change some of the comms reporting that her and Ben previously, or that's been previously provided. So at some stage we'll bring Sophia in and you can talk to her about whether there's other things that you would like her to report on, what other things might be of interest. But at this stage we've just kept the same report, so happy to answer any questions on that.
Councillor Wilson.
Move receipt of the report.
Thank you. Will you second it, please? Councillor Carter seconded. All those in favour? Carried. Just a couple welcome TikTok to RDC's communication. Perhaps I'll need to get up for the play there. And just interested around the Youth Council, and they are looking to formulate a podcast, I read. Are we supporting that, or is there anyone around this table can do to help that? Any comments?
I've had a discussion with Justine about the podcast, but again, I think it's in quite early stages.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think it would be an asset.
I thought it was a really cool initiative. I'm really excited to see it. Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Carter.
In the comparison page at the start of it, you've got red lines against MRP.
What page are we talking about?
We are on 43.
Yeah.
There's no reference to what that is aimed at through the comments or anywhere else. Any ideas what that might be?
Page 43 is referring to the changes that down, are you, or 17%?
17%.
Or just the, I suppose it does fluctuate, depending how many people push the button, what's happening at the time. If we've got events, you normally get a high return rate. You've got school holidays, you get a high return rate. So it just, I think one of the things that I was asked for is a trend of the happy or not, and we've started that from July, August. So we'll bring that through as part of the regular reporting. It's easier to do it at the beginning of the financial year, and then you might see some trends, depending what's happening in each of those areas.
I was going through to see what the remarks were in the comments, and there's no red one, so they must be all obscured through language.
Councillor Loudon?
I just, two clarifications on page 47, to Mark Becky, the second comment there. I love big gats. Does anyone know what that relates to?
No, I cannot.
Sorry.
And the second one is the Marton Library, the second comment. I'm not quite sure what that means.
I think somebody, you might just get a child that's actually just hitting buttons. Yeah, so.
It might be a different language.
Yes.
A youth language.
I had a similar question around on page 48. Thank you, but no VR. What's a VR?
Virtual reality.
Oh, okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for the program fee. Councillor Wong.
Do we have any idea how many people give feedback compared to the number of visitors for any place?
No, we don't track the number of people going into Tamatapihi or even here. I know the library used to have a counter. I'm not actually sure if it's still there or not, but it would be, yeah, that would be the only place that we actually have. Can't remember what it was called, Footprint or something. It used to be called. Yeah, but we don't actually track at Tamatapihi or here because people are in there for various reasons.
Okay, Councillor Wilson.
Just to say, some time ago, it may have actually been my first term on council. There was some information with regards to foot traffic movements. It was done, and the estimate at the time was between here and I think the library was about 100 or 120 foot traffic movements a day. That was people movements at that time, and it was done for an analysis that council requested to be done to try and gauge the original planning for what we're doing now. So it's around about 100 or 120 foot traffic movements a day.
No other comments? Oh, can you show?
Yeah, just one in terms of youth council, they met last night, and in terms of the podcast, they were having discussion around naming, and one of the names they considered was, and Councillor Duncan may correct me, but Ram Raid Club.
Rangatahi Ram Raiders.
Yes, the Rangatahi Ram Raiders. And wanting to be provocative, but then there was a discussion around how that could be perceived by the wider population. And I'm not quite sure where they ended up as a decision.
So they went with it anyway.
But I think they haven't sort of got to that space yet, but it was interesting because there was sound arguments that they put up for it.
I will look forward to that, definitely, and I think, yeah, so we can call the meeting closed. Oh, beg your pardon, sorry, councillor.
Page 50, there's 17th of September. I'm not quite sure what that's about. So. Oh, there's 17th of September on page 50. There's I read this in the news.
Oh, yeah, so that's language that isn't appropriate, so it's been removed. Yes.
Sorry, so this time, oh no,
No.
councillor Duncan,
Well,
you've got a second. We've got a workshop.
Page 54, the TikTok thing. I'm just wondering how much information or deliberation has gone into that decision.
Sophia, have you got information? I'd say it's come from Ben, being asked about engaging in TikTok.
Yeah, my understanding was that it's kind of been around, we've been thinking about it for a while. From my professional experience, I would say it can be a real asset to the community to engage like a younger youth audience. It's a slightly different target audience to your other classic social media platforms. And so my understanding was that, you know, give it a test and learn time, see how it goes. There's no point in putting resource into it if it's not successful. But if we're able to engage a younger audience, then I see that as a real asset to us as RDC.
Just so it is, it's on a trial basis.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions or comments? No other hands up that I haven't seen, so we'll call the meeting closed.